know what's strange? The strength that carried you through your hardest seasons is probably the same strength you're still doubting right now. Think about that. You survived things that once felt impossible. You adapted to situations that should have broken you. You endured confusion, rejection, uncertainty, loss, and yet here you are, breathing, thinking, searching, growing. And somehow, you still call yourself weak. Here's what I want to show you. Your hidden strength doesn't look the way you were taught it would look. It doesn't roar. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't always win. Sometimes it survives. Sometimes it endures. Sometimes it simply refuses to quit. And today, I'm going to show you how to recognize it. Not the dramatic kind, the real kind. Because strength, like healing, rarely announces itself. Most people think strength is loud, confidence, certainty, achievement, control. You see someone commanding a room, building a business, speaking boldly, and you think, that's strength, but that's performance. Real strength is internal. It's what happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching.
It's the decision not to send that message. It's the choice to sit with your discomfort instead of escaping it. It's the ability to stay present when you want to run.
And here's the deeper truth. You don't develop strength by eliminating weakness.
You develop strength by integrating it.
The parts of yourself you once rejected, your fear, your doubt, your sensitivity, they weren't liabilities. They were raw material. And hidden strength is almost always buried inside what you once called weakness. Sign 1. You survived what should have stopped you. Let's start here. Look back. There were moments you thought you wouldn't recover from. A breakup, a betrayal, a failure, a season of confusion where nothing made sense. And yet, you adjusted. Maybe not gracefully, maybe not quickly, but you did. That's not luck. That's adaptive strength. Self-help literature talks about taking 100% responsibility for your life. Not because everything was your fault, but because you chose to continue. You chose to move. You chose not to collapse permanently. Strength often looks like continuation. You kept going when quitting would have been easier. That counts. Sign 2. You feel deeply afar and still function. Let me tell you something most people misunderstand. Sensitivity is not weakness. If you feel things intensely, criticism, rejection, joy, beauty, that means your system is responsive, alive. The problem was never feeling. The problem was believing feeling made you fragile. Hidden strength is the ability to feel fully without shutting down. You cry and still show up. You doubt and still act. You fear and still try. That's not fragility. That's emotional endurance. And emotional endurance is one of the rarest strengths in the world. Sign 3. You've questioned yourself. Most people never examine themselves. They defend their flaws, blame others, repeat patterns. You, on the other hand, have asked, was that me? Why do I react like that? What part of this belongs to me? That is strength. To confront your own shadow, your jealousy, your anger, your insecurity, requires more courage than confronting anyone else. It's easy to win arguments. It's harder to win self-awareness. The moment you stopped projecting everything outward and started looking inward, you activated hidden strength. Self-help calls it ownership. Depth psychology calls it integration. Either way, it takes courage. Sign 4. You can sit alone with yourself. Try something. Sit in silence. No phone, no music, no distraction. What happens? If you can sit with yourself without panic, even if it's uncomfortable, that's strength. Because many people build entire lives to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. If you can be your own company, you are not weak. You are integrated enough not to fear your own mind. That's hidden resilience. Sign 5. Your triggers don't control you like they used to. There was a time when certain words, tones, situations would wreck you. Now, they still sting, but they don't dominate. That shift didn't happen by accident. Your nervous system reorganized, your psyche processed, your mind matured. Strength often reveals itself in reduced reactivity. You pause instead of explode. You observe instead of spiral. You respond instead of collapse. That's growth, not flashy, but powerful. Sign 6. You've failed and tried again. This is where many people misunderstand strength entirely. They think strength means winning. No. Strength means trying again after losing, applying again, starting again, loving again, trusting again. Every time you re-entered the arena after being hurt, embarrassed, rejected, you demonstrated strength. You didn't become fearless. You became willing, and willingness is stronger than bravado. Sign 7. You want more from life. Here's a subtle one. You feel restless. You feel like you're meant for something more. You sense potential you haven't touched yet. That dissatisfaction? That's not weakness. That's inner expansion. When you feel called toward growth, toward meaning, contribution, creativity, that's your deeper self pushing you beyond survival. You're no longer content with managing symptoms. You want alignment, purpose, participation. That urges strength awakening. Why hidden strength feels invisible? Because it developed in silence. While you were doubting yourself, you were adapting. While you thought you were broken, you were reorganizing. While you believed you were behind, you were integrating. Growth often happens beneath conscious awareness. You don't notice it while it's forming. One day you just realize, I don't react the same. I don't tolerate what I used to. I don't abandon myself anymore. That's strength. The real definition of strength. Not domination, not perfection, not invulnerability. Strength is feeling deeply and still moving, failing and still trying, facing yourself and not looking away, standing alone without collapsing, choosing growth over comfort, taking responsibility for your direction, loving yourself enough to evolve. Strength isn't loud, it's steady. And if you're here, reflecting, examining, seeking, you have more of it than you think. So here's my invitation. Instead of asking, why am I not stronger? Ask, where have I already been strong? Look at the evidence. Look at your endurance. Look at your survival. Look at your willingness to grow. Hidden strength isn't something you build from nothing. It's something you recognize. And the moment you recognize it, it grows.